that'll take a while. And this is how you come down. Indoor filming today. Excuse me. Frickin' frog in my throat. Got the mural up on the wall yesterday. It's alright, looks kinda cool. Looks way more cool when you see it online and you're shopping for it. And I think being a first time mural purchaser, applicator, I think I would probably urge people to look at the mural, wall mural catalog like you would a tattoo catalog and think about it a long time before you choose one. I went at it pretty quick. I don't regret it, but after I did purchase this one, I found a couple other ones that I went, oh wow, that would have been way better. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll give you a pan out of this later on. It's nothing overly important compared to what we've got going on daily, right? So, my eye looks a little different. I took a right jab from Ruby yesterday where roughhousing pretty good and she smoked me square in the eyeball. Dunk! Blew a blood vessel in my eyeball so it's half red. Anyway, I went back in my inbox this morning having coffee and there's like 15,000 emails from all you in that one inbox. And I went to the very beginning of it just glancing and realized, wow, there's a lot of emails here that haven't been heard. It's crazy. So I copied a whole bunch from the very beginning and put in my notes for this morning. Although I do have a pile of emails already. I mean, there's got to be, I think there's 300 in here right now. What, not even a week ago, I had nothing in the notes on my old phone after I got it going again. Didn't recover any of the notes. But anyway, let's get right into it, alright? Let's get right into hearing from the people. This is titled, Red. This is titled, Thanks to the Kind People of the Round Table. Good afternoon, Steve. First, I enjoy the beautiful scenery you share with us. Second, thank you for providing a platform that allows people to share their stories and memories of experiences they have had. Now for the reason for this email. October 22. I asked for prayers for my brother. He had cancer and had decided on home hospice care. He did this so family and friends could visit him, as the hospital had COVID protocols in place, meaning no visitors, except my stupid control freak sister-in-law wife. I asked the people pray for his remaining days and passing be peaceful. I was overwhelmed by the kind words, thoughts, and prayers that people commented on my request and sent. That week I spent 3 good days with him, talking, sharing stories and memories. I had to leave for a day to attend business, but was to return on Saturday for additional time. Sorrowfully, my brother passed early Saturday morning, not from the cancer, but a major infection in the body tubes that the doctors were treating aggressively. His passing was peaceful. After friends came to see him Friday evening and spent an hour or so with him, he went to sleep and never woke up. My brother's nickname was Bear, a big burly man. He was a gentle giant and my only brother. I miss him dearly. I've gone back and reread many of the comments and want to thank everyone who took the time to share prayers and sympathy. Now, for my story at the table. Sorry for your passing. I'm very sorry for your passing of your brother. Sad news, but there is a good group of people here, isn't there? Sending well wishes and prayers when needed. My dad lived out in the country on the family farm. My mom passed away many, many years before. It was a hot, humid, late August day in North Carolina. The kind of day where heat waves shimmer in the distance. Early evening, my sister and I are sitting outside on the deck enjoying the slight breeze, watching the dogs play. The day is cooling down and just a nice time to be outside. All around the house and driveway is heavily wooded oaks, maples, and a few pines. The dogs start barking, but are looking up in the trees. We're thinking squirrels, maybe a hawk. I don't see anything. But as we watch the trees, a translucent mass appears to move. Thinking heat waves, hazy humidity, we continue to watch until it appears that whatever moves to another until it appears that whatever moves to another tree. I look at my sister, she looks at me, and we're like, oh hell no. Call the dogs and go inside. I've never seen Predator, the movie. It wasn't until I watched Dave Paulides' 411 The Hunted that I knew that we saw the same thing. Never saw it again, but didn't look for it either. Many years later, my husband and I had an experience in the Uharis that spooked us so bad we never hiked that part of the park again. Thanks again to the people who prayed for my brother. I'll go by Carolina Girl, so you can use that as my name sincerely. Alright, thanks for that email. Again, sorry about you passing your brother and your mom. But there you go, there's another person that saw the predator-like being, right? How many times you gotta hear that for the, I don't know, probably a few people out there that take these encounters seriously. How many unrelated human beings around the world does it take to report the exact same description before you have to relent and give in and accept it as fact, right? Okay, this next one I found, I do not remember this at all, has a whole pile of photographs with it. And I guess I had a reply. So, how did it go? I replied to the email and he replied back. So, this is how it goes. Hello, I've recently discovered your channel. It's great to hear the encounters. I have some pictures of tracks me and my family ran across a few years back. I've only shown these to a couple people and they look at them in disbelief and just laugh, so I don't show people anymore. I live in the UP of Michigan and we ride ATVs all summer long while camping. I was raised in North Idaho for the first 25 years of my life, grew up in the woods and spent much time in the mountains by myself starting at the age of 11. So I've seen many kinds of tracks and animals. I've always been being prepared, and now with the family, when we go on long overnight trail rides, I have enough gear that I'm ready for anything. I also told my wife if we ever see a Sasquatch, I will be gone tracking it. Well, on this particular day, we went on a day ride, and for the first time ever, I did not have any gear besides first aid and a saw. The time we found these tracks, I was not able to leave since it was about 60 miles back to the truck, and my family would not be able to find their way. I guess if it was going to happen, it would be, well, I'm unprepared. The story goes like this. Me, my wife, daughter, and son were riding our ATVs down a trail when I noticed tracks going right down the middle of the trail. The trail was dry with a thin layer of soft, dry dirt, and I just blew them off as bear tracks, since we had seen someone running bear dogs about 10 miles behind us. We stopped at the split in the trail near a mud hole. Just out of curiosity, I went to the last track I seen. These tracks followed the trail for about 400 yards, by the way. So I went to the last track I seen, called my son over, and I pointed to it. He just got a big kind of nervous grin on his face. We were both thinking the same thing. I went on looking around some more as he ran back up to the bikes. And then he hollered at me, "Dad, come here." I jogged back up to the family and he was pointing to the mud hole, and that is when I took some pictures. Always wanted something like this to happen and was always prepared. Not today. I was so disappointed that I could not follow the tracks, and they were very fresh. They are very big tracks, but very curious nonetheless. They went up on the trail about another 100 yards and went off into a very hilly area where the ground is leaves and needles. Can't imagine a person going off in that terrain without shoes. Anyway, here's the pics. Not sure if you have any input on what you think they may be. Thanks, and thanks for your channel. I have to send the pictures separate as the files are too big. I guess I replied, Eric, thanks for the email. Tracks are facts, aren't they? I seriously don't go out of my way to find them or the track makers, as they are all over the place around my place. I'd rather avoid the damn things. The pics are great. Thanks for sharing. Do you want me to share with the channel? Thanks again, Steve. And he replied, thanks for getting back to me. You can share them with whomever you like. Anything to help the cause. I see the greatest things when I least expect it and am unprepared. And now, I'm one of them old guys that we remember from days long gone at the coffee shop telling their fish stories that I never believed. But now I know they are true. Thanks. Hi, Eric. So, Manco, give you my permission to do whatever you want with the pictures I send you. And there you go. So, pictures shared with all of you. And I'm quite certain we didn't share these in the past. Excuse me. But they're small, aren't they? They're small. The one with the fresh, wet mud around it, you can tell that print went straight down. Like, dunk, dunk, dunk. You know what I mean? That's straight down print. Doesn't look like heel first or launching off with the toes around. It just looks like a straight down punching downhill track. Very interesting. Very interesting, and seen many, many times. That one track there looks like it started to sprint or pick up speed, as that's only, what, 2/3 of a track? It looks like that person, that being, is starting to make tracks. Typical classic shape. There you go. So there were some very clear tracks, whereas a lot of people here are interested in seeing them, right? So there you go. You guys shared, and thank you, Eric. I wonder if you're still here with us, and if you got anything else that is new that's come up in your adventures, maybe, possibly. Now here's another one. Excuse me. Mark this as red. BC Dogman sightings. I was just bringing up the topic about the Dogman. It's really come up a lot lately, and that I only noted somebody seeing 2 by 100 Mile House. But here's another entry from, I don't know, when was this? April 11th, 2020. Hi Steve, Dogman sightings mapped. I don't know if it is kept up to date. I've copied the Vancouver DESC as I thought would be of the most interest. Vancouver 2010, all of a sudden we heard some loud thumping against the plastic garbage bin in the house. We figured a bear had gotten over our fence again. We peeked out of our curtains together and we were shocked at what we saw. The thing stood on hind legs and had dark shaggy fur, but it definitely wasn't a bear. It looked muscular and skinnier and had a snout like a coyote or a wolf. It ripped through our garbage. I think for the salmon bones and carcasses in there. It was grunting and growling quite a bit. We were completely petrified at the window. I wanted to look away, but at the same time I was morbidly fascinated at what I was looking at. After about another minute or so, the thing ran to the back of our yard and jumped over the fence. I guess it was a werewolf. What else could it be? I just hope it finds its dinner somewhere elsewhere from now on. And there is a map. Now listen, unfortunately in a way, the map is, there's a few, so this means there was 3 sightings of a Dogman type being described around Mackenzie, BC. And also, there's another Dogman sighting smack dab bullseye to where I've been solo hunting the past few years, near Hudson Hope. I don't know if I can do this easily here or not, but there's the 3 dots. So anybody, if you're familiar with British Columbia, these 3 dots are, the top one is Hudson Hope and the 3 down below are Mackenzie, BC. All right, you guys? Hope I can do it this way. It's much simpler for me at the way I'm doing things currently. There you go. So there is more than a couple Dogman sightings in British Columbia. And here's another one, recent. I think I took this from recent before I started diving into the back of my inbox. Excuse me, flashing orbs above you again in your most recent episode. Steve, thanks again for all you're doing to help the people get their voices heard and truth out. I noticed that at 29:30, just as you paused in mentioning 3 triangular tracks in the ground, a light flew as fast as a teal from right to left above you. I'm not sure if that was the same direction that a light flew along the river above you in the previous episode, but it caught my eye. Alright, there you go, you sleuths out there. I guess that was yesterday's video. I'm gonna guess it was a bird. I don't know. There's red-headed mergansers keep flying up and down there like crazy. It could be one of those. They're fairly fast flying, but I don't know if they're fast enough to just show up as a blip in one spot. I don't know. There you go. Lots of people are watching around me when I'm outside, right? Next one, my dad's sighting. This is a recent one. How Steve, appreciate what you're doing. Keep up the good fight. My dad, 67 at the time, who's a Vietnam veteran, Marine Corps, and I hunted the Southern Cascade Mountains in Washington State for 30 years when we had our sighting in 2012. We were hunting the late muzzleloader season for elk during the last week of October or early November, and it was a Wednesday as I recall. My dad was driving us back to camp from a bite to eat around noon. He's driving my Chevy Tahoe and I was riding shotgun down a rural 2-lane highway with very light traffic that day. Maybe one vehicle every 5 to 10 minutes. We were traveling around 35 miles an hour around a sharp corner when out of the corner of my eye I caught a large, dark-colored object on my side, only about 15 feet off the roadway. I didn't think much of it as there are free-range cattle in the area, and my instant thought was a cat was waiting to cross the road, although it would have had to have been a very tall cow. Less than 100 yards up the road, my dad slammed on the brakes while looking in the driver's side mirror and excitedly said, "What in the hell is that?" My dad explained to me that he saw a very tall, upright, dark brown, hairy figure cross the highway behind us. He said it made it across in three strides. Its arms were swinging down past its knees as it crossed, he said. I asked him where and when. He said on the corner. I mentioned to him I had caught a dark figure out of the corner of my eye when we went by. We turned around and he drove back to the corner, parked on the side of the road in a pull-up, and got out to look for tracks in the gravel and dirt on the sides of the highway, where whatever it was had crossed, but we found nothing. We then both attempted to cross the highway, taking the longest strides we possibly could, and neither of us could make it across in less than 7 or 8 strides. Later that day, I recall a few years earlier finding a small grove of pear trees in the timber, about 200 yards off the highway. There was once most likely a homestead. I surmised perhaps it was heading there for a food source. After doing some research on the subject and other sightings in the area, there have been other documented sightings close by. I have beforehand since had several encounters, or at least possible encounters in the area. And you've read a couple of them. Tom Fish Jr. Tom, thanks, man. I think your name is familiar from Facebook on the Blacktail page, isn't it, man? If you got more experiences that we haven't had shared here yet, and you think it might help somebody or even you, send it to me, alright, man? Send it to me. I'll get it shared up. And there's another one. More members of the Club of No Return, right? I don't know how many people out there, with the majority of our followers on this channel, how you are carrying yourself through this lifetime with your thoughts and collecting information and knowledge. But I'm curious to know how many people out here listening to the people are growing more angry in a way, angry or frustrated, at the obvious fact that we have had so much hidden from us in knowledge, taken from us. And as my journey goes, my ride, my puzzle pieces they're flowing in pretty good. And a lot of the puzzle pieces I've been receiving this past handful of months have confirmed many of my own theories, what I have possibly been thinking of for many years. And it's a little overwhelming. You know, I know there may be a lot of people that just come here for the crazy, scary stories, and well, that was a good one, and then carry on for their day without really doing too much with the knowledge that they're receiving here. You know what I mean? But I wonder how many of you are really, really digging and are frustrated because you are realizing what I'm realizing and what many of us are realizing, right? More and more. Like I knew that our existence is a bit of a, what could be described as a shit show. I think the earliest time I probably started picking up on it was in high school myself. And as an example, for me, when I was in high school, I think in grade 12 is when I realized this is just a sham. I'm wasting my time here. Just get me out of here. I remember my biology 12 teacher telling me, "Hey man, you gotta start trying. You're gonna fail." And I looked at him square in the eye, and I knew, something in me just knew that everything was gonna be cool. And I looked at him and went, "No, I'm not gonna fail at nothing. Just get me out of here. I'm done here. I'm gonna be fine." I knew I was gonna be fine, and I knew I did not need what was getting delivered to me in those classrooms at that point. I didn't need anything. I knew it then. And I knew to buck against the system. And that's how I've been since. And I've been trying to gain knowledge. When my brain, obviously when you're going through your younger years, you do stupid shit growing up. There's no way out of it. Especially when you're basically a feral kid like I was. But along the route now, it is 100% confirmed that so much has been hidden and taken from us in the way of knowledge, freedom, especially today, but all along since the beginning, and it's frustrating. And what I'm getting at is what do you do with the knowledge? Do you know what I mean? It is so large and so immense what's really been going on. What do you do with it? What do you do now? Especially when you're not in the position of being one of these powerful people who can amass an army and straighten the shit out. And even then, is there any true good guy armies available? Is there any? Do you know what I mean? Is there any? Am I doing a bit of a caffeine ramble this morning? I don't know. I've just been receiving a lot of emails lately from some people who are very knowledgeable and have been very diligent for many years, digging deeper than I could dig, and having access to people in places that I don't have access to, and coming up with some very solid information. And it's confirming a lot. I'm going to share what I know. I'm going to deliver it. I sort of figure how to deliver it so that you can make sense of it, and it'll help a lot of you. But one of the biggest mysteries, like I said before, the very first video that I came out with when talking about this topic was, I think that video is pinned on my YouTube channel, is I find, accepting the existence of these crazy ass beings that aren't supposed to be real, for me is far almost less interesting than watching human beings and watching this ride. Human beings are amazing. How we react, what we do to each other, how we go through life, how we let one single human being dictate to us what we can or can't do, or how we're going to do it. Human beings hiding truth and knowledge from us. It's all very amazing to watch. It's fascinating in a way, but it also can be depressing. But how do you counter it now at this stage of the game? Especially now, I mean, the insanity is snowballing at a rapid pace by the day, isn't it? But I was thinking, side note, before I go rambling on too much, I wonder if you see, when you figure out how the majority of these dark souls have taken all of this knowledge from all of us, kept it hidden, and manipulated your ass and limited your life. That's the biggest crime, is people have limited our lives. All of us. And it's, for me, that makes me really angry. I want to get them back, But I know that one route that they have used to do that to us is absolute control of the information shared. And it's very clear that whoever holds that card controls. So, how do you counter it, aside from just grabbing a bunch of ammo and going for it? Well, I think that possibly you would have to rally up. The way that you win is playing them at their own games. That would be possibly to rally up all of the true good human beings out there who have absolute massive followings. to get all of our honest information pounded into society, into our communities? Would it be by gathering and trying to get together all of the people with the largest followings who are true, honest, good people and deliver to all of us the most important knowledge we can? And that would possibly be a way of beating the bullshit that's going on. That's what's been getting on my mind lately. Like I said before, I know what's going on. I know we've been lied to. What are you going to do now? What do you do now? Tired of people pointing it out, and trying to come up with some way to win. I want to win before I'm gone. I want to witness the win before I'm gone. Do you know what I mean? Don't you? Don't you? I don't want to go through this life this frustrated all the way to the end and then be laying there dead and all busted up knowing it's too late and I can't do anything now. Shit. I wish I'd done something different back in the day. Well, back in the day is right now, so. There's my rant. Think about it, alright, you guys? Think about it. Now, what's this one? Another voice to be heard? Excuse me. This is my Sasquatch story. Who? Me. Joseph Glenn, Captain, U.S. Army retired, and William, a Canadian Forces First Nation Wilderness Survival Skills Instructor. What? Mountain Wilderness Survival and Parachute Training. When? September 1989. Where? Canadian Forces Training Center and Airborne School, Calgary and Jasper, NP, Alberta. Why? Joint Canadian and U.S. Army Special Forces Training. How? Just lucky, I guess. As soon as you say Jasper, I know we're in for it. Jasper is like ground zero for many people for these sightings. I haven't owned a television since 1974. I don't do Facebook or any other social media. I read a lot and I watch YouTube selectively. I've never encountered a Sasquatch, though, based upon the evidence I've come across, historical and eyewitness accounts, physical evidence and reports like yours, I do not doubt the existence of Sasquatch. I respect good, hard-working, honest people, and I do not doubt their accounts of the creature, whatever it is. I recently watched some of your how to hunt videos on YouTube and found them entertaining, informative, and instructive. Thank you. I've watched enough to notice that you seem to have a low tolerance for BS and a highly developed sense of humor. I've also watched enough to know that you like to get to the point. So out of consideration for your aversion to and impatience with verbose piffle, I'll not drag this story out unnecessarily if I can help it. I have at times suspected that I enjoy telling stories more than my listeners enjoy hearing them, based on their reactions. You are forewarned. I'm not unfamiliar with the outdoors. I grew up in a small farming community in southern Arkansas in the 50s and 60s. As a teenager, I hunted small game and white-tailed deer in Arkansas County woods, amongst the creeks and sloughs and bayous of the White and Arkansas and Mississippi River deltas, though not very successfully. No Sasquatch in Arkansas, as far as I know from personal experience. Black bear, feral hogs, panthers, wolves, odd earthlings, giant woodpeckers, etc., but no Sasquatch. In the summer of '69, I got the report for your pre-induction physical exam letter from Draft Board Number 1 at DeWitt, Kansas. So I enlisted in the U.S. Coast Guard in early August of that year. I spent the next 45 years in the USCG, at first, and later in the U.S. Army, active and reserve. I retired from the Army as a captain in 2014 at Fort Lewis, Washington. I know that after 45 years of honorable military service, I should have retired as an admiral in the Coast Guard or as a general in the Army, but my injudicious mouth in the presence of senior officers proved an impediment to regular promotion, though no impediment to regular confrontations with my chain of command. Guess who won those pissing contests? In retrospect, I was fortunate to have ended my military career as a captain with a pension rather than as a private soldier permanently stationed in a structured environment at the disciplinary barracks of Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. It could have gone either way. In 1989, I was a sergeant assigned to Headquarters Company, 3rd Battalion, 12th Special Forces Group Airborne at Hamilton Army Airfield, California, just north of San Francisco in Marin County. That September, I was detailed with a group of about 24 other 12th Group soldiers to the Canadian Forces Base at Calgary, Alberta for a week of parachute and mountain wilderness survival training. We were there training with a sprinkling of Anzacs and British SAS and even one soldier from the Zimbabwe SAS. I referred to him once or twice by mistake as Rhodesian SAS, but fortunately the lad did not take offense. USAF Reserve C-130 crews flew us from Hamilton Army Airfield to the Canadian Forces Base at Calgary. Those Canadian NCOs and officers and soldiers trained hard to tolerate no nonsense from about dark 30 a.m. until the end of the training day, at which time more than a few generously volunteer their time at the base club to ensure the solvency of the Molson Brewing Company. We did our parachute training first, on training day 1 on RCAF C-130s with Canadian Army Jump Masters, Canadian T-10 parachutes and reserves from 2,500 feet AGL. No nonsense with those guys. They had us cinched up in those chutes tighter than a gnat's ass stretched over a bass drum. 5 jumps in one day. I needed a beer. It was not disappointing. The next day, our northern allies flew us in their C-130s from Calgary base to a dirt airfield somewhere in the Jasper National Park for the survival phase of our training cycle. The airstrip was a narrow, hard-packed clay lane about 200 yards long with a small prefab tin building at one end. I didn't see how those Canadians could have landed a Cessna 150, much less than a 4-engine Lockheed C-130 on that little stretch of dirt clay, but they did, somehow. Mountains all around. One of our instructors pointed out a high ridge far off to the west and called it Pocahontas. So there we were in the Canadian Rockies at about the 7,500 foot level with our minimal kits and enough wilderness for anyone to get lost in. Right away, they don't waste time. The Canadian NCOs assigned us to smaller groups of 5 or 6 soldiers to one instructor. The instructors were civilian experts, outdoorsmen, hunters, all experienced in wilderness survival. Me and my buddies, Sergeant Tim Wilson and Corporal Ed King, and 2 or 3 others were put in the care of a young First Nation fellow whose name I am embarrassed to say I cannot recall, except he had 2 first names. I'll call him William and apologize to the lad for my poor memory. So, at the Clay Airfield on day 1 of survival training, William instructed us on how to build a shelter with birch boughs, build a fire, use paracord and internal paracord twine to construct a fish trap, small game traps, camouflage, improvise signals for rescue, how to skin small game, stay dry. Do not antagonize large animals in the wilderness. Don't drink the water, and several other useful survival skills. He distributed parachute cloth, a large 4-gore swatch apiece, paracord, a flint, and a striker, and packed a chewy sugar candy to each of his charges. Next day, day 2 of survival training, William took us from the airfield on a long hike, hours it seemed, to a shallow stream about 50 feet wide. Along that clear and fast-flowing stream with high 5 to 6 foot muddy banks, he deposited us at intervals of 1 mile. There for us each to spend the next 3 days practicing the skills he had taught us the day before. This took us, all that second day. As William dropped me off at my assigned site at about noon on day 2, several miles from the airfield, I asked him, well, what should I do if a grizzly bear comes snooping around? He said, don't do anything to piss him off. Indigenous Canadian humor, I supposed. Then I asked, what about one of them Sasquatch? Then he reached into his backpack and pulled out a road flare and said, as he handed it to me, here, just light this thing off and put it where the sun don't shine up his stinky Sasquatch yin-yang. You'll get the message. I took the flare and put it in my cargo pocket. More Canadian humor. I was not intentionally making light of William's considerable knowledge of our experience in the wilderness or creatures like Sasquatch. I hoped that I had not offended him with my naive inquiries. I meant no disrespect of his knowledge or culture. I felt some little regret about my perhaps thoughtless and insensitive questions. The instructors, as I learned later, commonly used road flares to quickly light campfires, a convenience for them. Then William proceeded upstream with 3 or 4 other soldiers to assign them their places, each about a mile apart along the stream. Now virtually alone in the Canadian Rockies, I set to making a hooch and a campfire for myself for the next 2 or 3 days. I cleared a space, gathered dry wood, made a small fire, put together a lean-to of saplings and the parachute cloth William had given me. Facing my little campfire, then built a bed of spruce boughs and settled in. It was about 4 p.m. Cloudy, gray skies, overcast, getting dark, getting very dark. I got as comfortable as possible in my primitive hooch and started weaving a gill net. So I had recently been taught. Might try netting some grayling or trout in the stream, gotta eat. Meanwhile, the sloppy wet snow was falling. Wet snow was gathering on the tree limbs, spruce and pine all around. It was September, remember, and just about freezing, and the snow was wet and gloppy, my word for it. Evening twilight fading. Night falls by 5 p.m., I'm dry, I'm warm in my hooch, I'm set for the night. Little campfire burning, I got plenty of wood to burn. But I can't sleep, it's too early. I'm just laying there in my cozy spruce bough nest. Keeping my little campfire going, maybe 6 p.m., guessing the time, dark, wet snow falling almost straight down, no wind, little breeze. After a while I started hearing voices. Really indistinct, soft, and not far away. Then I figured out it was just the voices of the breeze in the trees. The wet snow falling and the water flowing in the stream about 10 yards away. I dozed off for a while, now it's about 8 p.m. At about 9 p.m., I heard a soft, heavy footfall nearby. Then several others. What the hell? Then several others, kind of regular, like someone or something walking through the woods nearby. But nope. Just gloppy snow falling from the trees onto the ground. Sounds like heavy walking on the forest floor, sort of. Probably not a bear. Bears are quiet. Probably not a Sasquatch. Sasquatch is stealthy. Just glops of snow hitting the ground. 9 or 10 p.m. now, very dark, overcast. Still snowing that sloppy, gloppy, wet snow. No moonlight or starlight, just the yellow-orange glow of my little fire. Laying here, trying to sleep for a little while, maybe if I can. And then splash. I heard that before. I heard white-tailed deer crossing the big LaGrue Bayou in the woods in North Arkansas County years before. Sounds just like that. Or maybe a fish jumping. Or probably a big, heavy glop of wet snow falling from a spruce bough onto the stream maybe 20 or 30 yards away. Or a Sasquatch? No way. And of course, I didn't have a gun. All I have is this stupid road flare that William left with me and a pocket knife. I heard a terrible scream late one night in the fall of '59 in my great-uncle Dick's deer camp on Big LaGrue Bayou. Walter Ediker said it was a female panther, but my dad said there ain't no panthers in Arkansas. Turns out panthers and wolves have always lived in southeast Arkansas. Inevitably, sometime shortly after midnight, I got to take a leak. So I get up, grab the only defensive weapon I have, the road flare, and walk a decent distance from my hooch and campfire. I catch a darker than the night silhouette moving along the bank of the stream at the limit of my peripheral vision. I look, and I think I see movement along the bank of the stream, and I do. In the faint glow of my little fire, I can just make out a dark shadow of something large, slowly walking on 2 legs along the bank of the stream towards my hooch. I kind of bend over. It's getting closer. I've nowhere to go. Okay, Sasquatch. I gotta do something. Fight or flight. Good luck outrunning a Sasquatch. Instinctively, I pull out the road flare. It's all I got. Otherwise, I'm perfectly still. Heart pounding, holding my breath. It's getting closer. 10 yards away, creeping along the bank close to the stream, just a shape. Big. A big creature on 2 legs, like a man all bundled up in a coat and fur cap. I gotta do something before it discovers me so close. I strike the flare and, fast as I can, run up behind the dark silhouette, waving my arms and brandishing that burning flare and shouting, "Hey, hey, hey, ah!" Really, in retrospect, how was he going to distract and discourage a Sasquatch? Not quite sure. Figured I'd play it by ear, I guess. I wasn't thinking clearly at the time. Suddenly the creature stood up straight, turned to face me. Surprised as hell, you should have seen his face. Eyes wide open. I had the drop on him. The creature took a quick step or two backwards, seemed to trip, lost its balance, and fell backwards, sliding down the bank into the water. Splash! What the hell? Then I heard more splashing and cursing. Kind of sounded like William. Turns out, on closer inspection, it actually was William, in the water on his back. What the hell? Imagine my surprise and chagrin. Well, I thought, relieved, glad that ain't no Sasquatch. Oh, and William has some explaining to do. Needless to say, I helped the lad out of the stream as best I could, which wasn't easy because the bank was about 5 feet above the water and muddy and slippery, and the dark was relentless. He seemed unhappy, I could tell, about his predicament. I probably don't need to repeat his colorful language here. He tried to blame me at first. I wondered if anger issues and ingratitude were common aspects of his First Nation cultural heritage. Turns out William was just walking back to the instructor's campsite near the austere little dirt Canadian airfield. I rather felt partially responsible for his discomfort. I postponed my leak taking for the time being. So, as soon as we could, I got William and his clothes dried out by my campfire. It took several hours. I did not sense any gratitude from William for having been saved by me from the stream. Probably a good thing. I didn't have a real weapon, like a gun, that night. Later at the campfire, after regaining his composure, William mentioned to me that had I pulled a stunt like that on a real Sasquatch, I would have been just another of those people who went missing in the Canadian wilderness and were never seen again. And he told me that though he had never encountered a Sasquatch himself, many, if not most of his relatives and friends have encountered the creatures firsthand. Those Canadians never did invite me back for more wilderness training. Well, I guess that was a bit of a story, wasn't it? Excuse me, but nothing really much in there to help anybody, was there? Sometimes, I'll get emails like that, and I'll read and I'll read and I'll read and I'll read and I'll read, and then I'll get to the end or 3/4 way through, and I'll realize, shit, this doesn't really have much to do with what we're doing here, does it? And then I'll have to chop it out, and then I've lost 15 or 20 minutes, whatever it is, and I don't have those minutes to lose. So I'll leave this one in the video. Okay, you guys? Thanks for that story. Sounds like you've had a bunch of experiences, but I appreciate it. But in the future, you guys, if you guys have a story, if you have an experience, we're hopefully going to get is either first or second-hand experience, whatever you got. Share it from a friend, family member, yours, and where it happened, what you saw, what you felt, what you learned, and what knowledge you gained that you can share here through me with the people that will help somebody. Okay? We've had a lot of very talented storytellers who can recount episodes in their life, email us in a lengthy story. But and then in the end, there wasn't too much of what we were hoping to acquire here. So I'm not trying to be insulting or anything. I'm just trying to politely say, hey, come on, you guys. If we're going to take out 15 to 20 minutes of our subscribers' time, our watchers' time, we have to make sure that it is knowledge-filled and something to help us. You know what I mean? Or something to help the person who's emailing in. That's what we're hoping to attract. Anyway, that's an entertaining story, well written. Good campfire story. Now, here's another one. My second story, The Life Changer, is the title of this email. Good evening, Steve. I hope all is well. After watching your video about the man fearing for his children, as the Sasquatch seems focused on his kids' play area, I've decided to tell you about the evening that changed my love for the outdoors. It was deer season, December of 1982. I still lived at the same house where 2 years earlier I had my face-to-face encounter with a Sasquatch. Since that encounter, I had pretty much stayed out of the woods except for hunting with my brother or uncle. Never alone. Well, I just turned 16 and picked up my first vehicle, a 74 CJ5 4x4 and a Remington 30-06 pump action. No more single shot 410 for me. So needless to say, I felt as big and tough as anything on the planet, and at that time the 30-06 might as well have been a cannon in my mind. Ah, the joy of a foolish youth. Okay, back to it. Feeling confident, I began deer hunting again. I still didn't like the dark, but I knew my 30-06 could take care of any animal out there. I purchased a male Doberman, Butch, shortly after my first run-in with the Sasquatch, and had spent 2 years with Butch by my side, and he even slept right beside me. Needless to say, Butch was my best friend, and never a day passed that we didn't wrestle, play fetch, and run in the fields. Butch was over-attentive. When I went deer hunting, he would sit with me in blinds or lay at the base of the tree where I had my stand. He became a problem after I shot at a little 6-pointer, his first kill. After I hit the deer with a double lung shot, the deer made his way up a steep hill about 60 yards. After finding the deer, I began dragging it out, with the 90-pound Dobie pulling against me. Finally made it to the top of the hill, only to have half a mile straight back down to my house. During that pull downhill, I slipped. The deer came on top of me, and Butch lost his mind, attacking the deer, which he felt was attacking me. Long story short, after this, Butch hated deer. It wouldn't allow me to hunt without chasing the deer as they approached. Butch was now left at home to await my return during deer season. I had finished lunch and started my 2-mile hike to a favorite isolated field surrounded by hardwoods and persimmon trees. I arrived in time to sit for a couple hours, watching a few does browse and hoping for old mossy horns to step out. About 30 minutes before dark, I heard something coming hard and fast. I readied myself for the huge buck to step into range, and there was Butch. He paid no attention to the browsing does. He circled me while whining and bumped me repeatedly. This kept up for about 10 minutes. The does ran off, and he refused to lay down or obey commands. I got so mad, so fed up, and I got up and proceeded back towards home. Keep in mind, Butch was still whining and acting crazy while we walked. We made it about a half a mile to a hard curve in the old logging road. I could bear left, walk up the mountain, hit the ridge, and save 30 minutes by walking through the woods or continue the logging road. It was 10 minutes before dark. Just enough light to get up the hill, hit the fence line, and walk home in the open woods by moonlight. I turned left, began up the hill. At that very moment, the air turned thick, and that smell of rotting flesh mixed with feces and piss filled my nose. It came flashing back at 1,000 miles per hour. Again, time stood still. A loud, low grunt yelp drew my attention to a fallen tree stump 40 yards straight uphill. Just enough light to see a 2-legged figure at the stump. No running this time. I had 90 pounds of teeth and a 30-06. I yelled, "Second Butch!" Butch tore up the hill, and as quickly as he went up, he came down, yelping like a scared puppy, and he flew past me. I have 30-06. I took a few steps towards this being. I raised my rifle, and at that moment, I felt something pulling my leg. Butch had sunk his teeth into my camos and was pulling with everything in him, still whining. He would let go only long enough to bark cry at the thing above us. Butch was terrified, and his bark was of terror. I looked back up, raised my rifle, trying to remain balanced, while Butch yanked at me, and then this creature yanked the stump out of the ground and hurled it in my direction. The stump was bigger than me, and it crashed and rolled within 10 yards of me. I know this sounds crazy, but I felt then and still today he didn't intend the stump to hit me. As the stump stopped, the creature let out a yell, straight out of the bowels of hell. At that moment, my 30-06 felt like a BB gun. This 10-foot creature stood with his arms in a come and get some stance. He began a growling chant yelp. Butch was now running. I heard him go out of sight down the logging road. Yelp, 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 gone. Now, there I stood alone 30 yards from it. I lowered my rifle and began backing up, never letting it out of my sight. I felt the old road under my feet and began walking towards home, watching as this thing shadowed my steps the entire time, knowing I only had 10 minutes of light left and I had over 1.5 miles to go. 3/4 of this would be on the old abandoned logging road surrounded by 30 to 40 trees. From the time I smelled the air turned bad to where I now stood had maybe taken 15 to 20 seconds, though it seemed to be 15 minutes. No one can imagine how time slows to a millisecond crawl, as if a camera running 30,000 feet per second is put in slow motion. As I kept walking, I began shaking, almost uncontrollable. I could see him breathe. I heard him chatter his freaking teeth. At this point, he knows he's got me. I'm doing exactly what he wants. I'm in 100% panic mode and every sound, every grunt, tree snap is meant to increase my fear. 5 minutes pass, and I'm closing in on an intersection near the old way station. The intersection will bring another logging road from his direction. I feel we will hit that old logging road bed and come straight. Sorry, you guys. I feel he will hit that old road bed and come straight at me. We come to the old way station. I can barely see now. He steps out onto the road bed. I can see his dark figure standing in the middle. His shoulders were damn near as wide as the road. And at that moment, I decide, when he comes at me, I'll empty my 220 grain brush busters into his chest. I stop, take a breath, and I try to control the shaking. I bring the rifle half raised, just touch my shoulder. I have to close my eyes, trying to force myself to adjust to the last minute of the light, trying to see the figure 30 yards away. He steps into the woods and comes back up beside me. We begin to walk again. This time there's no seeing him. It's dark and the moon is too low to break through the tall trees. I'm 200 yards from the state road. I know the right-of-way will be wider and the road runs dead east. I will have moonlight at least to see where I'm walking, and maybe, just maybe, a car will travel my way. I make it to the state road, and he is right beside me, 20 to 30 yards. If I stop, he stops. When I move, he moves. I pick up my pace, I never run. I don't dare make enough noise that I can't still hear him walking. My uncle was a sniper in Nam, and he spent 5 years teaching me to stalk, teaching me little tricks, always telling me to be quiet and use your ears as much as your eyes. It's amazing what goes through your head. The grunts and yelps have become almost zero, but he is still breaking limbs right beside me. I can just see my great uncle's house at the TV flashes in his window. Another 200 yards and the woods will end. It opens up to grazing land for the cattle. My eyes have adjusted. The moon has risen quite a bit over the past hour. I can see the open field, and yes, the cattle are grazing along the fence at the edge of the steep bank above my head. I can make out the shadows in the moonlight. At last, the woods end, an open field, and at last, the woods end and open. A field from here on out. Surely, he will stay in the woods. Just 10 more minutes. Nope. I notice the cattle become nervous. Then they turn and flat out run. That damn thing is walking in the field just to my left behind me, probably 20 feet above the road up a steep bank. I can't see him. The twilight's in front of me, so I'm sure I stick out brightly to him. 100 yards, I can see our kitchen light bouncing off the leaves. I stop, turn in his direction, and he keeps coming. Black as night, stinking grunting. I raise my rifle, he stops and starts the teeth chatter. By now the tears are flowing and I'm shaking again. I call him an effer, in a voice probably only loud enough for me to hear, but it was all I could muster up. I turn towards home and I feel the gravel of our driveway under my feet. Now I'm shaking so bad I can hardly walk up the steps. I get to the door in time to hear that blood-curdling yell about 50 yards away directly behind the house. He had followed me to the effing door. As I walked in, my mom said, "Not again." She sees by my tears and deathly white complexion along with uncontrollable jerking, the answer is yes, again. As I calmed down, my mother said I was getting ready to come looking for you. There's something wrong with Butch. He won't come out from under the steps. Bigfoot or not, I headed outside to check on my best friend, and he was under the porch in the back corner, in a space not big enough for a good-sized cat, and he's in a ball, shaking and whimpering. I crawled towards him to get him out, and he snapped at me. My friend was scared. It took a few days before he came out, but he was never the same dog. He didn't live a month. The next day, my great uncle gave me an ass chewing for running his cattle at night. What the hell was I doing? What was I thinking? I'd caused one of his cattle to fall, and I needed to come over and help him remove her from the field. As we pulled up on scene, the steer was torn, and an entire ham was missing. He looked at me and said, "It must have been a damn panther. I heard one yell last night." And I just said, "I wasn't no cat." We moved a couple months later, and it would be 3 years before my next meeting with old Stinky. I truly believe there is no hunting these creatures. They hunt you, and they are well advanced, and this creature knew when he was doing it, and at any moment he could have snapped me right up. We are in their playground, in their homes. They are in control when we are in the woods. I had a different view of the mighty 30-06 after that day. End o terrifying story. Well, take from it what you will, leave that one, right? Pretty detailed, and basically 100% of all the details he shared with us are part of common patterns that have been reported from all of you for tens of thousands of times now, right? What a shit-eating experience. And when you said, you didn't want to move and make more noise so you couldn't hear him following you, it just took me right back to that night when I looked up and seen that thing on that rock looking at me. And it was so frickin' quiet. I mean, it was just dusty, gravelly, old road. It was gated. You couldn't go up that road in vehicles, so it was just all loose, rain-washed rocks and shit. But it was September, so it was dry. But I'll never forget, man, you could hear every single piece of sand-sized thing under my foot. And I went so slow. And I was walking sideways, step, like slow step sideways. And I had my bow, I had my arrow with a razor sharp tip on it, on my bow, pointing to that side of the road the whole time, because that was the side of the road this being was, and I couldn't see shit. It was absolutely pitch black on both sides of the road because of the bush and the timber, and you could just make out the road. There's no moon, but that deep, deep blue sky, and I remember just thinking, needing to go slow and listen, like you just going by your senses, your every hair on your body standing on end. But I just remember needing to go so slow and dead quiet, and just like almost going like, like bow, like listening to see if I could hear whoever it was, if they were going to pass me on the road to ambush me again, or just come straight at me through the bush. Either way, I wanted to be able to hear it coming so I could at least push the arrow into it for any kind of self-defense, right? But that story took me back to that moment for me, and probably a whole pile of you too. Excuse me, but anyways, I gotta get going. I'm gonna get the floor down here now today. I have a whole pile of other stuff I gotta do because I'm gonna get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, head to the coast, hit a steelhead on the way, and I have another boat trailer from my other older boat that's sitting here. I'll have to go pick it up. It's ready, got the bearings rebuilt because it's been in and out of salt water for I don't know how long now, so it's all ready to go. Grab that and come back and carry on. And then this room will be 99% done after today. And then we're going to look at getting some people in here and talking to you guys and sharing knowledge. Now, back to what I was mentioning earlier about the absolute theft of knowledge from us, the suppression of our lives. I think it would be very, very beneficial to help Dr. Melba Ketchum get this current DNA project completed. I really, truly mean that. So I think if I can, I'm going to scrape up a few more bucks and I'm going to pass them on my way. I'm going to put the link to that study in the video description below. And I'm going to somewhat plead in a way and ask if you guys would help throw down, I don't give a shit, whatever you got, 50 cents, a buck, whatever. There's probably going to be, what, 50,000 people looking at this video in the next 48 hours. 50,000 people. If you threw down 30 cents each, excuse me, it'll get us to the goal to get this study done and get the information shared, because I have a feeling it is very important. And remember, there's some very dark, evil sons of bitches out there whose faces have been very, very public for all of you to see when it comes to this topic for the past handful of years. Some dark sons of bitches. And I've been unfortunately hearing more details about some of the things they have done to people. I wasn't there, I haven't heard from the victims, but I think I may dig a little bit, because some of the things I've been hearing are worthy to be shared publicly. And I'm not scared to share that shit. I'm not scared of any of those individuals, never will be. But if it comes to proving exactly what they've done, I'm sharing it with names. All of you, as things that you need to be aware of. But in the meantime, a lot of these people have gone out of their way to shred Dr. Melvin Ketchum's career. All right, that's what they have done. Now, you all know how the dark side goes about it today. It doesn't matter what dark team you're talking about. Their classic go-to first move is to discredit and shred somebody's character and career. Okay, you guys? So, it's almost to the point now when you see someone's name and career getting annihilated, it almost should be looked at now as they were the good guys or the gals. Right? So, Dr. Malcolm Ketchum's been attacked by a lot of people in the world, around the world, when it comes to sharing absolute truth, missing truth that we need. It has 100% everything to do with us as humans. So let's see what we can do, all right? Let's see what we can do if we can get this study done now, get that information shared publicly, and it'll confirm a lot for a lot of people. It'll also bring probably some alarm to a lot of people. But well, what's worse, not knowing the truth or keeping your head in the sand until this ride's over with and never learning much truth? Why are we here? Why are we alive? We're not alive just to work our asses off and feed the dark side and make them comfortable, right? We are all supposed to have a fair crack at life, learning as much as we can, experiencing as much as we can. And I am very frustrated because many of us have had that chance taken. It's not fair. So, let's get this study completed. All right? I'll be back to share a shit pile more. And as long as I got a voice, you guys will have a voice being heard. And I'm going to look into possibly, if we could all look into a recipe of how to counter. Right? So, I've come up with one. See what you guys think. I think the way the pricks have gained and got 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 up on us is they used the absolute control of information flow. That's what works. It's proven. Okay, so that's how it works. It's proven. Okay, so to fight back, we got to fight them at their own game of win. So that means we need to get as many of all the true, good, hard, honest warriors with substantial followings together, possibly in one place even, and have some kind of a meeting and figure out what the most handy, honest, truth messages could be that would help all of us, and pound that shit into our communities, the honest truths, right? Because that is what they have been doing, although they have not been pounding the truth to us. Anyway, I hope it makes sense. I know I'm babbling a little bit, and I'm going to get going. I'm going to get this room done. We're going to keep moving forward, advancing our knowledge, and creating brave people, brave, free people.